Noah leaned against the cool brick of their front porch, arms crossed, as Serena's voice cut through the morning air like glass. "I'm done, Noah. I can't do this anymore." The words landed heavy, each syllable folding into the next, suffocating him. He tightened his jaw, eyes fixed on her trembling silhouette in the doorway. Serena, 5 years of laughter, tears, and shared mornings, stood barefoot, clutching the edges of her thin robe. Her hair was loose, tangled from restless nights. In her hand, she held a single sheet of paper, the letter she'd written at dawn, ink still damp. "I'm tired," she whispered, voice quivering. "Tired of pretending everything's fine." Her gaze dropped to his feet, as though she needed courage to meet his eyes. "I thought love could fix us, but I've been fixing alone." Noah's heart thudded. He opened his mouth to protest, an apology, a plea, but no sound came. Instead, he recalled the mornings she waited for him to laugh, the nights she fell asleep beside him despite his late returns. Everything felt suspended, as though time itself held its breath. Serena took a step forward. "I packed. Your things are in bags by the door. Please don't follow me." The words stung, sharper than he expected. He swallowed, voice low. "Serena, why now?" Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Have you ever asked me how I feel? Not about us, just me." She shook her head. "I'm not your girlfriend anymore. I'm a stranger you live with." His chest tightened. He remembered last week's argument, her frustration that he never noticed the new dress she bought, or the way her freckles had darkened in the sun. He dismissed it as trivial. Now he saw the fracture. She unfolded the letter. "Read this. Then please leave." She turned and stepped inside. The door clicked like a judge's gavel. Noah watched her silhouette vanish. He closed his eyes and inhaled sharply, heart pounding. The scent of lavender and old wood filled his lungs. 5 years of home, gone with a single sentence. Inside, Serena padded down the hall. He followed, silent as a ghost. In the living room, she dropped the letter on the coffee table, turned, and met his gaze. "This ends today." He nodded slowly, voice raspy. "Okay." But inside, he felt as though the ground had disappeared. 5 years. 5 years of trusting her smile, believing they were a team. And now she pressed her palm to his chest. "Don't blame yourself. You tried. I tried. It's this." She gestured between them. "It's us." Then she stepped back. Noah crouched, picked up the letter. Her handwriting curled across the page. "Noah, I love you, but I don't recognize myself anymore. I have to find her again." He read the words twice, then folded the letter as tears slipped down his cheeks. She watched, silent. After a long moment, she turned and walked away, each step deliberate, until she was gone from view. Alone, he sank onto the couch, clutching her words. The morning sun slanted through the window, lighting the dust motes dancing in the air. He exhaled, voice breaking. "What have we done?" Noah woke that afternoon to a message ping on his phone, a calendar reminder blinking insistently. Serena's birthday. He blinked at the screen, heart sinking. Yesterday. It was yesterday. He had missed it, but he had no memory of a plan, no recollection of a wish, no gift waiting. He rose and wandered through the empty house. The kitchen counters were cluttered, coffee mugs half full, bills stacked on top of yesterday's mail. Nothing, no card, no cake, no trace of celebration. He sank into a chair, pressing his forehead to the cool tabletop. How had he been so blind? His mind replayed the week. Late nights at the office. Strained "I love you" text sent at dawn. His apology ready but never spoken. And all the while, her birthday slipped past. He rifled through her side of the closet, searching for the small bag he'd bought weeks ago. Her favorite perfume, a bottle of lavender-scented bath oil. But the bag was gone. On her shelf, a dozen untouched candles remained unopened. Noah's chest tightened. A flicker of anger rose, at work, at traffic, at himself. But then guilt crashed over him. Serena's eyes had pleaded for acknowledgement, and he failed to see. The realization that she gave him signs, gentle nudges, dinners planned, messages dropped, and he had ignored them. He pulled out his phone and dialed Elise, Serena's oldest friend. It rang twice, then clicked. "Elise." He began, voice rough. It's me. I forgot Serena's birthday. There was silence. Finally, Elise sighed. Noah, I've known you two since college. You've been preoccupied. But she was hurt. She tried to tell you, last week in the car. His heart pounded. What did she say? She wanted to stop by the bakery. She'd bought you cupcakes, your favorite, salted caramel. Left them in the car for you to find. Elise's voice cracked. When you didn't notice, she ate them on the way home. Noah closed his eyes. He remembered her pulling out of the bakery drive-thru, smiling. He had been on a work call, typing notes. He hadn't looked up. He hadn't even noticed the cupcakes. Elise continued softly. She thought if you didn't care about this, maybe you'd never care at all. Noah's throat tightened. He whispered, What do I do now? Elise hesitated. Right now, give her space. She needs to breathe. And just listen. If she talks. He ended the call and sat back, head spinning. A small box lay on the table, an unopened gift from him to her, marked Happy Birthday. He lifted it, hands trembling. Inside was a necklace, a silver pendant shaped like the constellation they'd once traced on a camping trip. He ran his finger over the delicate stars. He stood, carrying the gift to the front door. Outside, the wind stirred the dying leaves. He placed it on the steps and took a step back, uncertain. The pendant gleamed in the fading light, an offering from a man who realized too late what mattered. Noah exhaled, voice low. I'm sorry, Serena. He turned away, the empty house behind him echoing with the heartbeat of a love he nearly lost. Boxes lined the hallway. Books, clothes, small furniture, Serena's life in cardboard. Noah carried the last box, pausing at the threshold of their bedroom. The bed was stripped, sheets folded neatly. A single pillow remained, indented with her shape. He set down the box and surveyed the room. On the floor, a glint caught his eye, a slender rectangle beneath the bed frame. Bending, he retrieved it. Serena's old phone, its screen spiderwebbed with cracks. He hadn't seen it in months. Curiosity prickled. Why keep this? He murmured. He blew off the dust and pressed the power button. The screen flickered, then went dark. No password prompt, just a shattered glass. He slipped it into his pocket and carried the final box out. In the living room, he stood by the coffee table, the letter she'd left earlier folded beside the unopened gift. But now his focus shifted to the phone. He knelt, heart thundering. He tried the common codes, his birthday, anniversary, but nothing. Each failed attempt brought a surge of frustration. But then his hand froze. What if inside this broken device lay the key to understanding her? Maybe it held messages he never saw. He fetched the tiny toolkit from the drawer, his old laptop's memory screwdriver set, and popped open the back. Inside, the battery's edges looked worn. He didn't know how to repair it fully, but he pried gently at the cracked screen assembly. Finally, he separated the display and connected the phone to his laptop via a USB cable. His breath caught as Windows recognized the device in mass storage mode. A folder appeared, DCIM messages, voice memos. He opened messages. Hundreds of threads, but one folder caught his eye. Unsent drafts. Inside was a single entry, time-stamped 6 days ago. Noah, I love you, but lying to you about everything hurts more. I can't keep living half a life. He paused. A lump formed. She had drafted this message, but never sent it. He clicked voice memos. A recording file named July_Dawn blinked. He played it. Serena's voice, soft and wavering, whispered, I miss us, but I don't know how to bring her back without breaking us both. He closed his eyes. Tears blurred the screen. She had reached out in silence. He never saw. He backed up the phone's contents to a secure folder on his desktop. Then he gently replaced the cracked screen and battery, reassembled the device. The phone looked battered, but the secrets were safe. He exhaled, voice thick. I found you, Serena. He touched the screen as if it were living. Now let me fix this. But the house remained silent. Her laughter, her sighs, all memories. He set the phone aside and folded into the couch, cradling his head. The world outside went on, cars passing, birds chirping. But for Noah, time itself slowed, burdened with the weight of what he'd missed. That evening, Noah's footsteps echoed in the attic's dim light. He rummaged through boxes until one marked S, mementos, caught his eye. Inside lay trinkets, ticket stubs, dried flowers, old letters. His hand brushed against a leather-bound journal tucked beneath a stack of photographs. He pulled it free. The cover was unmarked, supple brown leather worn at the edges. He ran his thumb over the spine. No lock, no clasp. Curious. He flipped it open. Most pages were blank, save for the first few. The handwriting was delicate, precise. Serena's script. He settled on a dusty crate and began to read. April 12th. Today, I woke up and didn't recognize my reflection. He kissed me goodbye as always, but I felt nothing. He turned pages. Blank. Then, a single entry near the middle. June 5th. Evan met me on the pier. His eyes, still the color of stormy skies. I told him I almost forgot how he smelled. He paused. Evan, the name he'd never heard. Each entry grew more frequent. She chronicled nights in a distant city, waiting at cafes, calling his number until it rang indefinitely, scribbling words on napkins. None mentioned Noah. Heart pounding. He flipped to the end. One final entry, dated 2 days ago. July 30th. Everything hurts today. I closed the door on him, but the echoes remain. I don't know where I end and memory begins. His breath caught. She had poured her soul onto these pages. He read and reread, absorbing each confession. The loneliness she felt, the shame of loving a ghost, the exhaustion of being two people. He closed the journal, pressing it to his chest. A soft knock. Elise's voice tentative. Noah? Mind if I come up? He stood, journal clutched like a lifeline. I found it. Elise entered, eyes scanning the entries laid out. She swallowed. She never wanted you to see this. She was ashamed. Noah shook his head. Why hide it? His voice trembled. Why keep this secret? Elise stepped closer. She didn't want to hurt you. She loved you. She did. But her heart, it belonged to someone else first. Noah sank onto the crate, journal open on his lap. Evan, who was he? Why can't she let go? Elise sighed. He died. 4 years ago. She never got to say goodbye. She paused, fighting tears. She married you because she believed she could move on. But Evan's memory was alive in every breath. Noah's vision blurred. He touched the page with her final entry, tracing the words. She carried this pain alone. He stood abruptly, voice shaking. I had a chance to help her carry it, and I missed it. Elise placed a hand on his shoulder. It's not too late to listen, to hold her journal, hold her story, as she should have held yours. Noah closed the journal and pressed it to his heart. I'm going to find her, he vowed, and I'll tell her she doesn't have to carry this alone anymore. Noah's memory took him back to that night 6 months ago. He stood in the doorway of the guest room, illuminated by a single bedside lamp. Serena lay curled under the white duvet, her face pale, shoulders trembling with silent sobs. He remembered the tension in the air, a tempest neither had spoken of. He had returned from work to find her there, not in their bed. Her suitcase lay open at the foot, clothes neatly folded, as though she'd planned to leave that evening. Silently, he crossed the room, the floorboards creaking under his weight. Serena's back was to him. He knelt beside the bed, watching as she pressed her fist over her mouth, fighting to keep her tears from pooling. He touched her shoulder. She flinched, twisting away, eyes red-rimmed. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. She shook her head, voice barely more than a rasp. Don't. Just don't. She turned fully and met his gaze. I can't stand your pity. He swallowed, heart aching. I just want to help. Her laugh was hollow. You don't even see me. He reached out, fingertips grazing her arm. I know I messed up. I know I didn't. She cut him off, tears spilling free. You didn't see that night. The night I cried in the shower because I realized I could love you, but I still loved him. He blinked, recalling his knock on the bathroom door that night. He had assumed she needed privacy, so he waited outside, guilt rising that he had never asked if she was okay. Serena sat up, turning the duvet around her. I ran to the guest room to think, to cry. to remember what it felt like to belong to myself. Noah's chest tightened. He knelt, taking her hand. Why didn't you tell me? She stared at their intertwined fingers. Because every time I tried, I saw your hope flicker, and I couldn't bear it. She exhaled. I felt guilty for loving you. Guilty for loving him. I chose silence. He pulled her into his arms. She stiffened, then melted against him, the sobs racking her frame. He held her, stroking her hair, whispering, I'm here. I see you. All of you. She trembled, voice muffled in his chest. I'm so tired. I don't know how to stop this pain. He tightened his embrace. You don't have to. We'll face it together. They stayed like that until her tears subsided. In the soft glow of the lamp, Noah saw her vulnerability, fragile, raw, human. He pressed a gentle kiss to her temple. You're not alone anymore. Serena lifted her head, eyes glistening with both pain and relief. Promise me. I promise, he said, voice steady. I won't stop until you feel whole again. She exhaled, a small, hopeful smile on her lips. Then stay. He nodded and stayed, by her side, in that guest room, where she first dared to let him in. And in that quiet night, a fragile truce was born, one born of confession, tears, and the first tentative steps toward healing. Noah sank into the leather armchair as the late afternoon sun slanted through the study windows, dust motes dancing in the golden light. The worn leather-bound journal lay open on his lap, pages dog-eared and ink-stained. He'd avoided these entries until tonight, fearing the truth they would reveal. He took a steadying breath and read the first heading in Serena's precise script. Dear Evan. The ink was smudged in places, as though the writer's hands had trembled. Each letter began with that simple salutation and ended with the same haunting refrain. Until our next life. A cold knot formed in his chest. He read the opening lines aloud, voice barely above a whisper. Dear Evan, yesterday the sky wept with me. I walked the pier alone, gathering broken shells, hoping one would remind me of your laughter. My heart aches with every wave. Noah's throat tightened. He flipped a page and found another. Dear Evan, I found your favorite record in a dusty bin at a thrift shop. The crackle of the first note brought me to tears. I pressed play and closed my eyes, wishing you were here. His breath caught. She had sought Evan in every corner of her world, in thrift stores, in cafes, in melody and memory. Tears blurred the words, but he pressed on, desperate to understand. One letter ended. Dear Evan, they asked me whom I loved. I said two names, one who gave me safety, one who taught me to fly. You were the wind beneath my wings. Until our next life. Noah closed his eyes, pressing the journal to his chest. The letters were love letters, not the kind meant for reconciliation, but confessions of undying attachment. He realized Serena's silence was an absence of feeling. It was abundance of it, directed elsewhere. A soft knock at the door startled him. Elise slipped in, clutching 2 mugs of tea. She sat beside him, eyes gentle. I didn't want you to find this alone. Noah gestured to the journal. She wrote to him, always to him. Why did she hide this? Elise sighed. She was torn. She loved you, but Evan was her first love. She thought by writing, she could release herself. Noah took a mug, his hand shaking. Release? It only bound her more. Elise nodded. She thought if she poured her heart onto these pages, she could move on. But grief isn't rational. Writing kept him alive in her mind. He closed the journal. All this time, I tried to understand her pain, but I never saw its source. She didn't show you because she was ashamed to admit her heart still ached. Elise said softly. She wanted a fresh start with you, but the past clung like shadows. Noah stood, clutching the journal. I need to talk to her. I need her to know that I'm here, not to replace him, but to stand beside her. Elise rose too. She'll listen, if you show her you understand. He nodded. The weight of Serena's letters pressed on him. They weren't betrayal, they were unhealed wounds. He closed the journal gently and stood beneath the slanting sunlight, resolve flooding him. He would carry her letters if she could no longer bear their burden alone. And perhaps together, They could write a new chapter, one not bound by memory, but forged in forgiveness and love. Noah found Elise at Serena's favorite cafe, the one Serena visited alone on Thursdays. The bell above the door jingled as he entered, heart thudding. Elise waved from a corner booth, where the afternoon sun warmed worn wooden tables, and the scent of cinnamon filled the air. He slid beside her. "You said you'd tell me everything about Evan." Elise nodded, stirring her tea. He was Serena's childhood friend. They grew up 2 blocks apart. When he moved away at 18, she felt like a part of her was missing. She paused, voice catching. They wrote letters, visited each summer. But he joined the Coast Guard, never stationed close again. Noah listened, absorbing each word. When did he die? 4 years ago, in a storm at sea. Elise's eyes flickered with pain. Serena didn't come home for the funeral. She stayed in that coastal town for weeks, sleeping on Evan's couch. Noah's hands clenched. "Why keep that from me?" Elise sighed. "Because she loved you, too. She thought if she confessed, you'd leave. You were stable, kind, everything Evan couldn't be. But her heart belonged to Evan's memory, not you." Noah leaned forward. "She said I never understood her darkness." Elise reached across the table. "Now you know why she felt incomplete. She carried his death like a secret shadow. She stayed with you because she believed love could mend a shattered soul." Noah's voice was raw. "I thought I was enough." "You are," Elise replied gently. "But she needed to grieve first. You offered safety, but she craved closure." He rubbed his forehead. "How do I give her that?" Elise looked at him steadily. "You help her say goodbye. You acknowledge Evan's place in her heart. Let her share her memories, loudly, painfully, so she can lay them to rest." Noah exhaled. "I'll do whatever it takes." Elise smiled faintly. "That's why she loves you. Now, be brave enough to hold her truth." Noah rose. "Thank you." He placed cash on the table and headed for the door, resolve strengthening with each step. Outside, the wind carried the crash of distant waves, Serena's home, and Evan's grave. He inhaled, steadying himself. He would meet her grief, not shun it, because to love her fully, he had to love the parts of her he could never replace. Noah drove through coastal fog, the salty air slipping through cracked windows. Every mile brought him closer to the city Serena had written about. Harbor lights glittering like scattered stars, the scent of seaweed tang mingling with morning breaths. He parked near the old pier, where Serena's letters described meeting Evan. He stepped onto weathered planks, heart both heavy and hopeful. The city felt alive in its quiet way. Seagulls crying overhead, wooden pilings draped in sea-flecked rope. He approached a small cafe Serena mentioned in her journal, its neon sign flickering. Mariner's Corner. Inside, the barista, a lean woman with warm eyes, watched him approach. "Can I help you?" Noah cleared his throat. "My fiancée used to come here every Thursday at dawn. She said she waited for someone." The barista nodded, expression softening. "You must be Noah. Serena talked about you once, years ago. She'd sit right there," she said, pointing to a corner table overlooking the bay. She'd order black coffee, then wait, checking her watch every few minutes. Noah Saturday. What did she say about the person? She said he never showed. The barista set a cup before him, but she kept coming back for weeks. Said someone might walk up and smile at her. Noah closed his eyes, imagining Serena's silhouette against the fog, hopeful, heartbreaking. He sipped the coffee, bitter and strong. The barista watched him. She'd sometimes leave a note on the counter. "I'll be back." And would you believe, once a month, someone placed a single red rose on her table. Noah's pulse raced. Was it Evan? The barista shook her head. "I never saw him, but the roses stopped after a year." He swallowed. Serena had brought Evan's memory alive here, marking time with flowers and hope. The city had witnessed her devotion, her longing. Now Noah would bear witness, too. He stood, leaving a tip, and stepped back into the salt-chilled air. The pier stretched before him, a path of wooden promise. He imagined Serena waiting here, heart on her sleeve. He whispered to the wind, "I understand, Serena. I'll help you let him go. He walked toward the lighthouse at the pier's end, where journals spoke of sunsets shared with a ghost. In that moment, he vowed to meet her in this city of echoes, to turn her memory of loss into memory of love renewed. Noah found a Bayshore hotel tucked between shops with weathered facades. The lobby smelled of old carpet and sea spray. At the front desk, he gave Serena's name. The receptionist's eyes flicked with recognition. "Room 214, she said softly. "Reserved under E. Blackwell every month for 2 years. Noah's heart twisted. She stayed alone. The receptionist nodded. Always the same room. A corner suite with a view of the bay. She requested fresh roses and a single candle for every stay. She handed him a card. Housekeeping reported she left in a hurry last time. Journal on the nightstand. Unopened letters on the desk. Noah's head spun. He climbed the stairs 2 at a time and stood before room 214. His fist hung in the air before he knocked. No answer. The door was slightly ajar. He pushed it open. Inside, dust motes drifted in twilight. A vase of wilting roses sat on a side table, and a single white candle lay melted on the desk. He crossed to the nightstand. Serena's journal lay open, pages fluttering as though touched by a ghost breeze. He read an entry dated 2 weeks ago. "I've come back once more, hoping Evan's spirit might appear. The sea speaks your name, but all I feel is salt and silence." Noah closed the journal and followed her path to the balcony. The bay stretched wide beneath him, waves whispering secrets. He imagined Serena standing here at dawn, watching for a silhouette that never came. He knelt and retrieved a silver pendant from his pocket, the one he'd meant to give her on their anniversary. He placed it gently on the table next to the candle. "This is from me," he whispered to empty air. "Not to replace him, but to remind you you're not alone." He stayed until the candle guttered, imprinting his promise in wax and memory. Then, carrying the journal and pendant, he closed the door of room 214 behind him, determined to bring Serena home. Back in their living room, Noah rifled through Serena's jewelry box. Rings, bracelets, a delicate watch. They all belonged to him or her childhood. Then he found it, a slender silver chain with a teardrop opal pendant, engraved on the back in fine script. "To the girl I lost twice." His breath caught. It wasn't something he'd given her. He held it up to the light. Inside the opal, colors shifted like a stormy sea. He slipped it around his finger, reading the inscription again. "Lost twice. The first was Evan's death. The second—" On impulse, he dialed Elise. When she answered, he said, "Elise, I found a necklace. It's inscribed to the girl I lost twice. It wasn't mine." Silence. Then Elise's voice, trembling. "He gave it to her the day before the accident. She said it reminded her that life is fragile and memory is a gift." Noah sank onto the couch, pendant clenched in his palm. "Why didn't she show it to me?" Elise's soft reply came through the phone. She was ashamed. She thought by keeping it hidden, she could protect you from her grief. He exhaled, tears stinging. "I want to protect her now. I want her to know I accept all of her, every scar and secret." He pressed the pendant to his lips. "Serena, I could never lose you even once." That evening, he set the necklace on the coffee table next to her journal and waited. When Serena stepped through the door, world-weary and cautious, he met her eyes. Without a word, he extended the pendant. Her breath caught as she recognized Evan's gift. Noah simply said, "I know what this means to you. I can't replace him, but I want to carry this, too, carry you, too." Serena's tears shone in the lamplight. She reached for the necklace, then paused. For the first time, she didn't hide her grief. She let it spill slow, honest sobs, as Noah held her. And at that moment, in the hush of their living room, 2 hearts, torn by past and present, found the space to heal together. Noah stared at the open doorway where Serena stood, suitcase in hand, sunlight casting her silhouette in gold and shadow. It had been 6 months ago, all so ordinary, yet that evening changed everything. "You're suffocating me, Noah," she'd said, voice fragile yet firm. He remembered the ache in her eyes, the tremor in her hand holding the doorknob. He swallowed hard. I don't understand. His heart pounded, chest tightening like a vice. Serena took a breath, glancing at the wedding photo on the wall. We need space. I need space. Her voice cracked. I feel lost. I don't know who I am anymore. He stepped forward. I love you. He reached out, but she shook her head. Love isn't enough, she whispered. Not when I feel like a ghost in my own life. I need time. Time away from routines, from the life we built. To remember who I was before I said I do. He closed his eyes, recalling every morning she woke before dawn, drank tea alone on the porch. He assumed she cherished solitude. He didn't see loneliness. Space, he repeated, voice hollow. She nodded, tears shimmering. Please. She turned and walked slowly down the hallway, stopping only to place the suitcase in the corner bedroom. That room had been the guest room, a place of comfort. That night became a symbol of their rupture. He followed, chest tight. She packed slowly, methodical, as if ritual might dull the pain. Silence stretched between them like a chasm. Finally, she zipped the suitcase. I'm going to the cabin, she said softly. The one by the lake. He remembered the cabin. They spent their first anniversary there. A world away from phones and deadlines. Alone, he asked, dread twisting his gut. She hesitated. Alone, she confirmed, voice firm. I need to face my memories, without holding your hand. Please trust me. He swallowed, pain flaring. I trust you. He lied, voice breaking. Serena met his gaze, sorrow flickering. She stepped forward and hugged him, gentle, reluctant. He sensed her body tremble, felt her tears against his shirt. I'll come back, she promised, voice muffled. I just need this. He held her, heart splintering. I'll wait, he whispered. I'll be here. She pulled away, eyes red but resolute. She crossed to the door, looked back once. Thank you, she said. Then she left. Noah remembered the echo of the closing door. He sank onto their bed, suitcase unopened at the foot, and ran his hands through his hair. 5 years of marriage, and he realized he knew nothing of her inner world. The space she asked for was not absence of love. It was a plea for understanding, for breathing room from the life he'd thought they shared. He stood and moved to the window, looking toward the cabin in the distance, a small dark dot against pine trees. He whispered into the night air, Find yourself, Serena. I'll be waiting to hold you when you're ready. For days afterward, he left a vase of wildflowers on the porch, grew accustomed to her absence, dread mingling with hope. His phone remained silent until week 3, when a single text arrived at dawn. Thank you for giving me space. No location, no plan, just a breath of connection across the miles. And in that space between texts, Noah learned patience, humility, and the fragile strength of love that doesn't cling, but endures. Noah sat in Serena's study, surveying the map of the city spread across her desk. Elisa's message had led him here, a small address scribbled on a sticky note. Second apartment. Trust me. The lease documents lay beside it. His palms were slick with sweat as he read the tiny floor plan. A one-bedroom unit on Elm Street, furnished, 2 closets, and, most curiously, 2 toothbrushes in the bathroom sketch. He clicked his tongue. 2 toothbrushes. He walked to the car, journal and map in hand, heart pounding with anticipation. The drive was short. Elm Street's brownstones loomed as he parked. He exited and followed the sticky note's directions, arriving at a pale yellow door marked 2B. Inside, the apartment was a mirror of home, light wood floors, a small sofa, facing a record player, walls lined with empty frames. He moved to the bathroom. Toothbrush holder held 2 brushes, one white, one pink. He ran his finger over the rim of a chipped mug labeled Anne, and another labeled. He closed his eyes. E for Evan. N for Noah. Memories collided. This apartment was built for someone else's memory and another safe harbor. He wandered into the living area. The record player sat on a low table, a vinyl spinning slowly, the opening notes of their song, Moonlight Over Water. It crackled, faint echo filling the room. He crouched and lifted the needle. Under the record, he found a small jewelry box. Opening it, he revealed a silver locket. Inside, 2 tiny photographs. One of Serena smiling in a summer dress, the other of Evan, arms crossed, wind in his hair. On the back engraved, "To my Serena," 2 hearts in one. Noah's chest constricted. He closed the locket gently, tears pricking. This apartment was her refuge. Here, she wove past and present together, hoping memory and love might coexist. A noise startled him, the landlord stirring in the hallway. A knock at the door. Noah hurried to answer. The elderly woman peered in, spectacles perched on her nose. "Oh dear," she said softly. "I didn't mean to startle you. I've been holding mail for Serena Blackwell. Here." She handed him a stack of unopened letters, each addressed in Serena's handwriting. He nodded, voice thick. "Thank you." She paused at the threshold. She said this apartment was her second chance. She doesn't want anyone to see how much she missed him. She winked kindly, but it's time someone helped her move on. Noah closed the door and gathered the letters, evidence of Serena's ongoing conversation with both him and Evan. He turned off the record player, the song fading. Standing amid the framed memories and twin toothbrushes, he realized this apartment was more than a secret hideaway. It was a bridge between her broken past and their hopeful future. He slipped the letters and locket into the journal and left, determined to help her pack away the past without discarding it. Back home, he laid everything on the kitchen table like treasures uncovered. When Serena returned, weary-eyed but curious, he met her at the door, journal in hand. "I know about 2B," he said softly. "I know about the song and the locket. I know why you needed this place." She inhaled sharply, eyes wide. "You went there." He nodded. "I did. And I brought back every piece of your heart you left behind. We'll sort through it together, when you're ready." Tears formed as relief washed over her face. She stepped forward, hand trembling, and placed her palm on his chest. "Thank you," she whispered. And for the first time, they faced her healing together, in the safety of their shared love. Noah sat at the dining table, Serena curled beside him, with 2 cups of tea. He slid Serena's obituary across the table. Its headline glared in black. "Evan Blackwell, 27, lost at sea." She took a trembling breath. "I only found it a week ago." Her fingers brushed the printed date, November 14th, 2021. He guided her hand. "Tell me everything you know." She closed her eyes. "Evan was from here originally. We met as kids, neighbors, best friends. He joined the Coast Guard at 22, assigned to the Pacific Fleet." She paused. "I waited for his letters, but they stopped after he went missing at sea." He listened, heart aching. "Did you attend a memorial?" She shook her head, tears pooling. "I couldn't. I wasn't ready to say goodbye." Noah reached across. "You can say it now." Serena opened her eyes, meeting his stare. "I loved him," she whispered. "I never admitted it to anyone." He squeezed her hand. "Thank you for telling me." She exhaled. Seeing his obituary, it made it official. He was gone. She took a sip of tea, voice soft. "I grieved alone because I didn't want pity." He nodded. "You don't have to grieve alone anymore." She looked at him, vulnerability and relief mingling. "I've lived in between life and memory. It's exhausting." He brushed her hair behind her ear. "Let's lay his memory to rest, together." She managed a small smile, leaning into him. "Promise you'll stay?" He pressed a kiss to her temple. "Promise." Noah retrieved the sealed envelope from the journal's back pocket. Serena had tucked it away, stamp still crisp. He handed it to her gently. Her hands trembled as she broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper, words flowing in Serena's elegant script. "If you're reading this, then I know you chose to understand. I wanted you to know. I never stopped loving him. I married you because I believed I could love again. You gave me safety, warmth, laughter, everything I thought I needed. Yet my heart was still tethered to memory. I wrote these letters hoping one day I could let him go. Thank you for following my trail through rooms and rooftops, through letters and locket. I'm ready to close this chapter, because I'm with you, and that makes my heart new. I love you, Noah." Serena folded the letter, tears slipping down her cheeks. "That was the hardest thing I ever wrote." Noah drew her close. "You did it. You finished his story, and made space for ours. She nodded, voice choked. I needed you to know my truth before I could live in the present. He kissed her forehead. Your truth is safe with me. Serena read the final line of her letter aloud, voice soft. You loved me quietly. I needed someone who could pull me from my darkness. Noah closed her journal. I want to be that person. She looked up, tears glimmering. You already are. He reached across and took her hand. I was always afraid of breaking you, but you taught me that love can heal. She squeezed his hand. You didn't break me. You helped me breathe. He smiled, tracing her palm. I'll always be here, even when words fail. Serena leaned into him. Thank you for loving all of me. Noah pressed his lips to her temple. Thank you for trusting me with your heart. They sat together in comfortable silence, journal closed, letters tucked away. The past lay honored and at peace, and before them stretched a future built on understanding, compassion, and steadfast love, quiet, enduring, and whole. Noah stood at the edge of the family cemetery, rows of granite headstones stretching toward the gray sky. The wind carried a chill that bit through his jacket. He gripped the leather journal in one hand and the silver locket in the other, both heavy with Serena's secrets. Today was the 4th anniversary of Evan Blackwell's memorial service, Serena's absence haunting him more than ever. He recalled the night she boarded the red-eye flight alone. Her suitcase had rolled behind her as she walked toward the terminal, shoulders squared against the wind. She'd kissed him softly, whispered, I have to say goodbye, then turned away without looking back. Noah had stayed on the porch, watching her taillights disappear until the road swallowed them. Now, at Evan's graveside, Noah felt Serena's presence in every gust. He closed his eyes and allowed himself to imagine her here, kneeling by the engraved stone that read simply, Evan Blackwell, beloved son, brother, friend. He wished she'd seen the sea beyond the stone, a pale mirror of grief and memory. A figure emerged from behind an oak, Elise, clutching a bouquet of white lilies. She approached quietly, sliding next to him. She never came, she said gently. Too many memories. Noah nodded, voice thick. I understand now why she stayed away. Elise placed the lilies atop Evan's headstone. She loved him fiercely. But grief isn't a straight path. She had to find her own way back. Noah knelt and traced the carved letters with his fingertip. I wish I could have gone with her. His voice cracked, shared her tears instead of leaving her alone. Elise rested a hand on his shoulder. You're here for her now. That matters. He whispered to the stone. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough. But Serena isn't alone anymore. I'll help her carry this, always. A lone gull cried overhead. Noah closed his eyes, allowing the wind and salt air to cleanse his sorrow. He rose and dusted grass from his jeans. Elise fell in beside him as they walked away from the headstone, stepping onto the path that would lead them home, and he hoped, lead Serena back to the living. Back at Serena's childhood home, the late afternoon sun filtered through lace curtains. Noah sat across from Elise at the kitchen table, a pot of chamomile tea steaming between them. Serena was out running errands, and Noah seized the solitude to learn more. Elise inhaled slowly. I haven't told you everything. She set her cup down, fingers tracing the rim. After Evan's death, Serena retreated into herself. She wouldn't talk about him, wouldn't let anyone near her grief. Noah leaned forward. Why? Elise's eyes glistened. She was afraid that if she spoke his name, she'd break completely. She thought keeping it buried would protect her, but it only made the pain deeper. He folded his hands. I didn't realize it was that bad. Elise exhaled. She needed someone to remind her it's okay to hurt, someone to sit with her in the dark. She paused, voice softening. She chose silence because she didn't want to burden you. Noah shook his head. She never burdened me. I wish she knew that. Elise offered a small, sad smile. Now she will. Today, I showed her a letter you wrote, one you never sent. It said you'd welcome all of her memories, even the painful ones. She cried. She told me she finally believed she could come home. Noah's throat tightened. Is she coming back now? Elise nodded. She's on her way. She called to say she's ready. She asked me to tell you she's sorry for keeping you so far away. He stood, heart swelling. Thank you, Elise. For everything. Elise rose, hugging him tightly. Just love her well. She deserves that. Noah held the embrace, promising himself he would carry her grief gently, without fear or silence. When Serena walked through that door, he'd be waiting with open arms and open ears for every memory she carried. Serena stepped inside their home, shoulders hunched but eyes bright. Noah met her in the hallway and took her hand, leading her to the bedroom where he'd set up space to sort her memories. An old armchair faced a low bookshelf. On top sat a sturdy box labeled "Don't Open." Serena stared at it. You kept it. He nodded. I thought we could go through it together. He lifted the lid. Inside lay a leather-bound photo album, its cover scuffed but resilient. He opened it to the first page, and the room seemed to inhale in unison. The first photographs were of a teenage Serena and Evan on a summer evening, her laughing as he held a hand-drawn map, him resting his head on her shoulder beneath string lights. Noah watched Serena's jaw twitch with emotion. She bent over the album. I didn't think I'd ever look at these again. Her voice trembled. She turned a page. Images of her alone on a boardwalk, raincoat drawn tight, eyes searching the horizon. Then a scanned Polaroid of her clutching Evan's opal locket, face both radiant and haunted. Noah sat beside her, carefully lifting a photograph. Tell me about this one. Serena's lips curved into a sad smile. That was the day he enlisted. I took this before the airport. I wanted him to remember my face. Her fingers hovered above his. I never sent it. She paused, flipping forward until she reached photos set in the apartment 2B. A candlelit room, 2 toothbrushes and a cup, the record player on. Tears shone in her eyes. I built that apartment so I could feel safe, but I felt more alone. Noah closed the album gently. Thank you for sharing this with me. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Thank you for being patient. He kissed her temple. Every memory is part of you. I love all of you. They stayed wrapped in each other's arms until the sun dipped low, the album resting on the chair beside them, a testament to their journey through grief, acceptance, and love reborn. Noah and Serena sat in the living room, the journal open on the coffee table. Elise's words from earlier echoed in his mind. She tried, Noah. She really did. He watched Serena trace her fingertip over the page where she'd written her final letter. Breaking the silence, he said softly, You tried to move on with me, even when your heart ached for him. Serena glanced up, tears glittering. I loved you, but I thought loving someone else first would make me unworthy. He reached across and took her hand. You were more than worthy. His voice wavered. You carried 2 loves in your heart and still made room for me. That took courage. She closed the journal. I was afraid you'd resent me for loving him. Her voice cracked. I held back because I didn't want to lose you. Noah shook his head. I would never leave you for what you felt. He lifted her hand to his lips. I'm grateful you tried for us. Serena swallowed. I needed to learn that grief doesn't cancel love. I'm learning now that remembering him doesn't hurt our future. He smiled, eyes bright with emotion. Exactly. We'll carry his memory with us if you want. We'll write new memories together. She nodded, a tentative hope in her expression. Yes, tonight, I feel like I can begin. They sat in silence, fingers entwined, the journal closed but alive between them. In that moment, Serena knew that love could stretch wide enough to hold both the past and the promise of tomorrow, and Noah knew he'd honor every step of her journey. Rain pattered against the window as Noah stood on the porch, coffee warming his hands. He remembered that afternoon 2 years ago, Serena clutching him in the drizzle, tears mingling with raindrops. She whispered, Thank you. And he felt the weight of goodbye, even though they both pretended it wasn't one. He closed his eyes, recalling her soaked hair plastered to her forehead, the tremor in her arms around him. She'd held him tight, longer than comfort demanded, before pulling away and wiping her cheeks. I need this, she'd said, voice brittle. I need to feel alive again. He watched her retreat down the walk, her figure blurring in the gray curtain of rain. He shouted her name, but she didn't turn. Instead, she paused at the gate, looked back once, and offered a small, sad smile before disappearing into the street. Noah exhaled, cold air billowing from his lips. He set down his mug and stepped into the rain, tracing her path with his gaze. Now, standing on the same porch rebuilt after years of change, he felt her presence more than ever. Footsteps on the path behind him. Serena emerged, umbrella overhead, rain dripping from its edges. Her eyes searched his face until a smile broke through the gloom. He opened his arms. She stepped in, umbrella forgotten, and wrapped her arms around him. Rain slid down his coat, mixing with tears on her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I left you without words." He kissed her temple. "You said everything when you hugged me that day. You said you loved me enough to let me be here for you." She nodded, voice small. "I needed that goodbye so I could come home." He pulled back and looked into her eyes. "You never had to say it. I understood." She laughed through tears. "I'm learning we don't need grand farewells. Love lives in the moments in between." He smiled, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face, and in the moments that follow. They stood on the porch, rain washing the past clean, and in the quiet symphony of droplets, they found their unspoken promise, that no matter where grief led, they would face it together, heart to heart, rain or shine. Noah stood in the silent house, the morning sun filtering through the curtains, painting streaks of gold on the hardwood floor. Serena's side of the bedroom was bare, her clothes gone, the second pillow vanished. He ran a hand over the empty space where she used to lie and drew a slow breath. He should have felt relief, closure, anything. Instead, his chest ached with absence. He walked through the living room, eyes landing on the unopened envelope beneath the coffee table, the one she left under his pillow. He remembered the night she'd slipped away, suitcase in hand, words withheld. "I need time," she'd whispered. He'd nodded, tears pricking his eyes, and told her to follow her heart. He didn't know then that following her heart meant leaving him behind. Now, the day after she left, the walls echoed with memories, the faint laughter from their first dance, the soft murmur of her reading beside him, the whisper of her breath against his neck. He knelt to pick up the envelope, fingertips brushing the textured paper. His hand trembled as he lifted the flap. Inside was her final gift, a manuscript bound in navy blue, pages crisp and filled with handwriting. Noah lifted it gently. The title read, "The Book of Us." But what if? He traced the letters with a fingertip and felt a sting of regret. She had carried a novel, her imagined life, leaving it behind for him to discover. He sank onto the couch, manuscript resting on his lap. He hesitated, then opened to the first page. The words were addressed to him. "Noah, this isn't goodbye. It's a pause, a question of what could have been. I need to know if our story could survive the weight of my past. Read this, and if you still love me, come find me." His breath caught. She'd offered him a path forward, a literary gauntlet thrown at his feet. She needed to know if their love could outlast grief and memory. He closed his eyes, recalling her tear-stained face when she confessed her fears. Now it was his turn to respond. He stood, manuscript clutched to his heart. He would follow her trail through words and will. He would prove that love could indeed pull her from the shadows. He crossed to the door, sliding on his coat. Outside, the air was crisp with autumn's promise. He inhaled, resolve hardening. Serena's question hung between them. Could their story survive? Noah whispered into the morning light, "I'll write the answer with you." And with that vow, he stepped beyond the threshold, clutching her story and their future in his hands. The cafe was quiet when Noah arrived, early enough to catch the barista unstacking chairs. He clutched Serena's manuscript, the Book of What Ifs, against his chest. He slid into a corner booth, the same one where Serena first penned her journal entries. He opened the manuscript and began to read, eyes scanning the prologue. What if I never met Evan? What if our first dance had no second heartbreak? What if love alone could heal all wounds? Each what if line was followed by a short narrative, alternate realities where Serena's life intertwined differently, choices made or unmade. Noah turned the page and found chapter 1. What if I stayed home that night? In this version, Serena writes, she'd never taken the red-eye, never faced Evan's death alone, and instead awakened to Noah's arms, the safe harbor she always needed. Noah paused, heart pounding. She'd written 1,000 alternate paths, some joyful, most bittersweet. He read her imagined confessions, marriages without regret, tears wiped away by his gentle touch, honest conversations replacing silence. Each scenario painted a future he yearned to make real. A barista approached. Coffee refill. Noah looked up, surprised. She nodded and refilled his cup. He closed the manuscript, taking a steadying sip. The steam curled toward his face, mingling with the swirl of his thoughts. Serena had poured her what-ifs into these pages, offering him glimpses of lives they might have shared. He flipped to the final chapter. What if we choose love anyway? She wrote of two people choosing each other despite all odds, despite memories that haunted and wounds unhealed. In this reality, she wrote, they held hands on the porch, sharing grief and growth side by side. Noah's eyes blurred. He closed the manuscript and pressed it to his chest. The barista returned with a slice of lemon cake, Serena's favorite. He managed a nod of thanks and placed the cake beside the manuscript as if consecrating a ceremony. He whispered, let's choose love anyway. Then, with new purpose, he rose and stepped outside, the manuscript tucked under one arm. The world beyond the cafe door felt charged with possibility. Each footstep echoed the promise he made to Serena's words. He would find her and together transform her what-ifs into their what-is. Noah found Serena on a sunlit bench in the riverside park, autumn leaves drifting like whispered secrets. She sat alone, manuscript in hand, head bowed. Her hair caught the light, haloed with gold. He paused at the path's turn, watching her for a heartbeat before stepping forward. She looked up, eyes wide with surprise and relief. You came. He nodded, heart pounding. I did. She closed the manuscript and set it in her lap. You read it. He sat beside her. Every word. He reached for her hand. I saw all the futures you imagined. Her breath hitched. They were my way of keeping hope alive. He drew in a breath. There's one memory under fireworks. He met her gaze. You wrote about a night under fireworks where you and Evan made a pact. To meet every year, no matter what. That memory, it wasn't mine. His voice softened. It was his. Serena's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, he came back that night, even if only in my mind. The sky was ablaze, and I felt him beside me. Noah wrapped an arm around her. I understand why that memory meant everything to you. He pressed a kiss to her temple, and I honor it, even if I can't share it. She leaned into him, forehead resting against his. I'm sorry I loved someone who couldn't stay. He shook his head. You didn't choose the past, but you choose me now. He brushed her hair away. Our memories may differ, but we can make new ones, together. She looked at him, hope mingling with sorrow. Can we? She whispered. He stood and extended his hand. Come with me. He led her to a clearing where the river curved under an old bridge. Above them, lanterns strung between trees swayed. I made a pact too, he said, pulling a small bag from his pocket. Inside were 2 paper lanterns. Serena's breath caught. He handed one to her. Write your memory on it, Evan's memory. Then release it. Tears glinted as Serena wrote on the lantern's parchment. To fireworks under autumn skies, thank you. They lit the lanterns together and watched as the paper wings caught the breeze and ascended, carrying her cherished memory into the night sky. As the lanterns drifted, Serena turned to Noah. Thank you for letting me honor him. He pulled her into his arms. And thank you for making space for us. They stood beneath the glowing lanterns, memory and promise entwined, ready to walk forward in a world they would only build together. It had been months since that riverside evening. Noah and Serena strolled through the city, hands intertwined. The winter chill had softened into spring's optimism, buds unfurling like new beginnings, birds tracing arcs overhead. Serena paused beside a familiar bench in the old botanical gardens, the one where she'd first confided in Elise. She smiled. This place feels different now. Noah nodded. We've changed it with our memories. They sat, and Serena pulled a small box from her coat pocket. Inside lay 2 interlocking rings, simple silver bands, each engraved with a single word: remember and renew. Noah's breath caught. He took the ring engraved renew and slid Serena's onto her finger. Her eyes glistened as she took his hand and placed the remember ring on his. So, we always honor the past, she whispered, and choose our future. He smiled, tightening his grip. Always. A passerby paused, admiring the rings. Serena laughed. Thank you. She turned back to Noah. I never thought I could feel whole again. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. You were whole. You were just broken for a time. She rested her head on his shoulder. Now I feel like us, the real us. They sat in companionable silence, watching springs bloom. At their feet, daffodils swayed. Above them, the sky shone clear and vast, an open canvas for new memories. When they rose to leave, Serena hesitated. One more thing, she asked. He arched an eyebrow. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small pamphlet. Couples Grief Circle. An invitation she'd worked on with Elise. I want to help others who carry memories like I did. Noah's heart swelled. That's amazing. She smiled, hope brightening her features. We can share our story. Show that love can hold past and present. He pressed her hand to his chest. I'll be there every step. They walked away from the bench, their footsteps in sync, carrying not just their own love, but the promise to light the path for others who, like Serena, had once felt lost between memory and hope. Noah stood on the cliff's edge, wind whipping his hair, watching waves crash against jagged rocks below. In his hand, he held the final pages of Serena's manuscript, the epilogue she'd written but never published. If only he knew the weight of my silence, the reach of my grief, the depth of my hope, that one day he would choose love anyway. He closed his eyes, feeling her words settle in his heart. He remembered every moment of their journey, the heartbreak of lonely letters, the fear of secrets kept, the tears shed in guest rooms and riverside parks. He remembered the lanterns, the rings, the bench in bloom. A soft voice behind him. Are you ready? He turned to see Serena, radiant in the late afternoon glow. She extended her hand, the manuscript's cover clasped between them. This is our story, she said. From I can't do this anymore, to I'll choose love anyway. He took her hand, warmth flooding through him. It's perfect, he whispered. If only I knew then what I know now. She smiled, stepping closer. You know it now. He traced her cheek with his thumb. I love you. She placed the manuscript in his other hand. Then tell the world. Her eyes shone. Let them see that love can heal, and hope can follow grief. Let them know our story, so no one else feels alone in the darkness. Noah looked down at the crashing waves, then back to Serena. He slipped the rings from their small velvet box and placed them on the epilogue's title page. If only he knew. A testament to love's endurance. He closed the manuscript, pressing it to his chest. I'll tell it, he vowed. I'll shout it from every rooftop, from every bench where someone waits for hope. Serena's eyes glowed with unshed tears. And I'll stand beside you. He kissed her forehead. Always. Together, they turned from the cliff's edge, manuscript and rings in hand, ready to share their story. Proof that even when memory binds the heart, love can set it free. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like, comment, and share. Also turn on the bell to get more of our videos. See you in the next story.